I don't understand how it promotes equality if your reaction to inequality is simply to take the men's money and pull it down, thus rendering the value of the jobs they were doing, which are the same in many cases as women, less important just because women want the same money.
Well, it's also a distraction. You know, the question about how much a public broadcaster should pay its staff is not the same as whether it should pay its staff, male and female, the same for the same work. And what's happened here is that you have an exercise that was designed to look at the gender pay gap, and it's actually revealed pay discrimination as well as pay gap.
OK, Kate, it's complicated. The BBC has a particular issue with this because it's obviously publicly funded. The British public pay their licence fee, so it's their money that is paying these salaries. That's why it's so sensitive. They're not a commercial network like ITV or Channel 4 or whatever, where it's a completely different state of affairs. You're judged on performance, advertising revenue and so on. What I can't work out from all this is where it all goes. Are we to assume now at the BBC that everybody is equal, even if some perhaps drive bigger ratings, for example?
Well, that's the worry. I think it's sensitive on multiple levels because, as you point out, first and foremost, this is taxpayer money. So for them to be revising what international editors say should be getting paid is completely legitimate. But I agree with Catherine that this idea that men are essentially giving to this charity of women who they think are being underpaid is ridiculous. As a working woman, I find it almost unpalatable to accept that kind of charity, even if they're doing it from a very kind place, which I'm sure they are. I think what this report will hopefully show is whether or not there has been actually systemic discrimination, which is illegal, or if men and women are pursuing different trajectories in the BBC and that's why they're being paid differently. That's a very different conversation.
Catherine, one of the issues, Gary Lineker's at the top of the list, and there hasn't been much. He's a friend of mine. He earns 1.7 to 1.8 million. You know, he's a former World Cup Golden Boot winning football player. As a football fan myself, I watch Match of the Day, for example, because I want to hear what Gary Lineker has to say.
But can I say that? I think
in other words, he has a premium value to me.
But that's a different thing from BBC News. And I think Libby Purvis made the argument that when you watch BBC News, you are watching BBC News, and actually it doesn't matter who is reporting because you're still going to watch.
Exactly, but let's unpick this. I mean, there isn't the same kind of market pressure in journalism. The BBC's own media editor, Amal Rajan, pointed that out. So those sorts of market discussions don't obtain. But the question about what the market thinks
because
is worth...
people aren't watching for individuals.
Yeah, and also because there's this huge glut of good journalists and a shrinking pool of
journalists.
I'm
not sure people don't watch for individuals, though. For instance, Jeremy Bowen, the Middle East correspondent for editor of the BBC, if I see something coming from him, I will definitely watch because of him.
And I would watch for John Simpson.
But Jeremy Bowen has...
Well, you'd be very on your own.
Jeremy Bowen has great expertise, as does Kerry Gracie. People watch for expertise. I'm not saying it doesn't matter who they have. It matters a great deal.
But this is so crucial.
But we're just let me finish the point about entertainment and market value. Yeah. Because what there also is a world in which men are generally rated over women also for those things. We don't have a media that can see women as clearly or appreciate them as much.
Kate Andrews,
I mean, just on the point...
Well, we're just running out of time, Catherine, which is why I just wanted to get Kate Andrews to come back in. I'm really sorry, but the trouble is we've asked lots of guys on the programme over the last couple of days whether they are feminists. Yeah. And I think part of their reluctance to commit to feminism is because for some reason, and Piers thinks there is a reason, you know, amongst some feminists, that feminists are anti-men. When BBC men take a pay cut in order for women to be paid the same as men, that feeds into that idea.
It is
why aren't the women being dragged up rather than the men being pulled down?
Well, exactly. It's a race to the bottom is what it is.
Right.
And I think one of the biggest problems that we have now is that feminism is, I think, in many ways been captured by a lot of radicals who associate it with things like, well, it has. Who talk about the pay gap with really
capturing it today.
Well,
I honestly do believe I'm a feminist, and I completely believe in gender equality. On this pay issue, I'm completely with you on this, right? I just think there are radical elements of the feminine movement who don't do any good to the cause whatsoever.
I don't think anyone disagrees with equal pay for work of equal value. Kate, Catherine, thanks very much indeed.